Angel fans, we're recapping all 3 spring training games from this last weekend, including Reid Detmers' start and why he struggled and what he thought the cause of it was. We're going to talk all about that. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can make every moment more with FanDuel. And right now, new customers, if you join today, you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started.
Happy Monday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, we've been fans of this team our entire lives, and it's our 3rd season being the host of Locked On Angels. So we're so happy to be here Monday through Friday with you. Hey, on today's show, the Angels played 3 games over the weekend. We'll recap each one and share what we learned from each game. And, of course, we got word on Friday that the Halos are working on stretching out Jose Soriano and Andrew Wantz as starters this spring. Mike, let's get into the details about that.
Yeah, let me start with Soriano. He will still have a chance to be in the bullpen, according to Ron Washington, but Wash did say that they believe he has the stuff to start, so they're going to give him a chance to start. He was a starter, if you weren't aware of this, was a starter back when he was a top prospect in the system, and then he had 2 Tommy Johns, and so that kind of changed the narrative for him. He profiled as a reliever after that because of his command, and he only had 2 pitches, really, that were really strong. He didn't have a 3rd pitch. The good news is that he is only 25, and because of that, he could be a potential cheap, long-term starting options if things actually work, if they click. Soriano made 65 starts as the member of the Angels organization and 2 starts with the Pittsburgh Pirates in their system in 2021. Wash did say that Soriano will get a chance to go 3 innings against the Diamondbacks on Saturday, and wanted to give him a chance to work out all of his pitches. He also said if he can show that he's comfortable in that role, his innings will continue to be extended. So how did he do? Well, he went 3 innings, and he allowed 1 hit, 5 strikeouts. And it was the B game against the Diamondbacks. Gooby said that, I saw him tweet this out, that Soriano hit 97 to 99 on his fastball and looked dominant. So I love that. And then just to make sure that he was comfortable, John, the Angels sent over some guy named Logan O'Hoppe to make sure that he could catch for him. O'Hoppe, by the way, hit a home run in this game and looked fantastic. So that's the news on Soriano. And then here's the news on Andrew Wantz. John, go ahead and share that with us.
Yeah, he's also going to get a shot to be a starter. He pitched in the A game on Saturday, came in after Griffin Canning started the game. He went 2 2/3 innings, gave up 2 hits, no walks, faced 8 batters. Locked On Angels Hall of Famer Brent McGuire tweeted, "I'm not sure Andrew Wantz will be a viable starting pitcher, although I like his chances more than Soriano, but I think it's worth a shot given the state of the Angels rotation. The stuff and command and surface level stats certainly work in his favor if he can maintain production over 4 to 5 innings pitched." Now, Mike, all of this was done because Wash feels like they have a need for starting pitching depth. Bobby Valentine has said repeatedly on the broadcast, teams need 10 starters, and the Angels have their top 5 plus Davis Daniel, Kenny Rosenberger, Zach Plesac, and now they're going to add Soriano and Wantz to that. Mike, is this a smart move here, or is it better to move forward with a signing like a Snell or Montgomery? Does them getting stretched out preclude a signing happening? Like, should we read the writing on the wall? What do you think?
I think that it might be the Angels' way of preparing fans that they're not going to sign a big-time pitcher. I'm still in the camp that they need to get Montgomery because he doesn't have a qualifying offer connected to him, and they're not going to lose a draft pick. And he's somebody, to your point, that you've made often on this show and on your GM episode, that Montgomery is somebody you can build around if you get him for maybe 3-4 years. And right now, with the way that free agents are looking and the numbers that they're signing, the Angels might be able to get a really good deal with Montgomery and bring him in. It might be a 3-year where he can opt out and they don't have to pay him a whole bunch of money over a long period of time. So I can't see why they wouldn't do that. Although I do know that, Artie's really closing up the purse strings when it comes to spending. And so it makes sense why they would move in this direction. I am curious about Brent's tweet. We'll have to ask him about it. Brent's tweet on why he thinks that Andrew Wantz is going to be more of a starting potential guy, like going to be better than Soriano. Do you have any thoughts on why do you think he leaned in that direction?
I imagine it's the two Tommy Johns, because if you're throwing, 97, 99 on that fastball and you've had two Tommy Johns, not a lot of guys come back from two Tommy John surgeries. Yeah. And while Soriano is young, like you said, 25, and it's worth a shot. I think it's worth stretching him out so that he can start in some games if you absolutely need him. But yeah, I'm interested to dive into the numbers more on Andrew Wantz, considering the stuff, and that's not a lingo. That's actually a FanGraphs term. There's a term called Stuff Plus, and it measures the movement on everybody's pitches. So if you're interested in that, you can head on over to FanGraphs and find Stuff Plus on there and see how Angel starters stack up and some of the best in the league stack up, because you get a really good look at like the movement on pitches and whatnot. Mike, right. I don't think that this precludes them from signing another starter.
Okay.
At this point, I think they've said it a million times. It's what side of the bed does Artie wake up in the morning? And you know what? Today's a good day. It's a Tuesday at 8:30. Let's go out and sign somebody, right?
Yeah.
And maybe I'll do it after breakfast. And that's just kind of how it feels with Artie Moreno. But the truth is I really think that it could go either way at this point. And I'm not just saying that because we want to be right or we want to be wrong. It's just, that's honestly how it feels. It honestly feels like we could wake up to the news of Blake Snell signing or Jordan Montgomery signing. And it certainly seems like the media is in on the Angels. Like they've all said, like, it makes sense. It seems like that's a really potential landing spot. I know that the Giants are kind of in on Snell at this point. Mike, I had a dream 2 nights ago that overnight Blake Snell signed with the Angels, and you and I were unavailable to record like an emergency podcast. So
nightmare. It's a nightmare.
That's the kind of nightmares I have, people, now that I've done this show with Mike for 3 years. Oh no, we're not available to do a live show. So if there is a signing and we're available, we'll definitely do a live show.
For sure.
I'm interested to see how these guys work out as starting pitching depth, because at the end of the day, you can never have enough starters. And if things don't work out, they're excellent bullpen pieces.
Yeah.
Plus, I think, and we'll talk about this when we talk about Game 3 versus the White Sox, Mike, the bullpen and all of the pieces that they've added, all of these guys who have been in the majors before are looking really good in spring training, aren't they?
It does give them a lot of flexibility to make some of these decisions, right? It does give them the opportunity to say, well, I guess we can stretch this guy out or stretch that guy out. John, I said this, I think maybe last week when we were talking about Wash bringing up some of the minor league guys to do some coaching. It again, it's exciting to me to have a manager who wants to impact not just the major league club, but wants to impact the minor league club, but also the future of this club. And Wash looked at this starting staff and he said, we need a couple more guys. We need a whole lot more flexibility. And so he grabbed 2 guys that he felt like could be really good at this, and let's run with it and see what happens. Now, I know that the Tommy John surgeries were a concern for Soriano, but if this can work for him and he can be a long reliever / maybe a 5th starter, somebody that fills in, that could only be a benefit to the Angels, because Perry did go out and get some really good arms at a cheap cost. Even guys like Adam Simber, where everybody was like, I don't know about that. He's looked really, really good. In fact, my favorite tweet from this weekend was from an everydayer that said they posted the pitching stats from, I believe, maybe Saturday's game, and it was, all the pitchers did really, really well, and they said, man, that Angel pitching factory, take a look, they're doing fantastic, because everybody didn't give up a hit or they had struck out 2 guys, and so it has been a positive, it has been a plus this spring training to see the pitching really come through and I guess, like just affirm what Perry did this offseason, that it wasn't him just kind of plucking guys to try to fill in gaps, but he actually had a strategy and a thought process. And so far, I know it's spring, so far, these guys have looked really, really good.
Yeah. When you say so far, it's only spring.
Yes.
I totally hear you on that. But again, these are guys that have been around the block before, and they also seem to all be doing really well at adopting the philosophy of like getting ahead of hitters, throwing strikes, really hitting the zone as much as you can. and working off of that. So they've all, for the most part, have done really well with what Barry Enright has emphasized this offseason. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. Coming up after this weekend, am I still concerned about Logan O'Hoppe? Well, I'll tell you about that. But don't forget that the Angels are playing the Rangers today at 12:05 Pacific time. You can catch the Angels, every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SSM app. Just search Angels, and we'll continue our conversation about the Halos in just a minute.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can get a big W with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So you can bet on all your favorite NBA players and NBA stats, who's going to score the most points, who's going to get the most rebounds. You can do all of that on FanDuel, and they have a great search bar that'll help you if you need clarity on anything that you're betting on, whether it be a quick bet or parlays or same game parlays. Or if you don't know what those are, they have great explanations for that, especially with exclusive props and all of that stuff, all sort of betting language that maybe you're not familiar with. They can help make you very familiar. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, and you can get a dub at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. Hey, everydayers, don't forget to head on over to Locked On Sports today. So once you're done here with all your Angels coverage, head on over to Locked On Sports today, because it's the world's first 24/7 national sports streaming channel. It's available on YouTube. Head on over there, hit subscribe. You'll get all the top stories across the sports world of the day from the local experts of Locked On, plus our national hosts as well. So head on over to Locked On Sports today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel.
John, Friday, I was super disappointed because it was Reid Detmers' first start of the spring.
It was Detmers Day, baby.
He just didn't look good, man. Went an inning and two thirds, 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 4 walks, and 2 Ks. He really struggled with his command in this game with those 4 walks. Gave up 2 hits. One was on a bunt, but he fielded, and then he had nobody to throw to at first base as Dozier was coming in to pursuing the ball, and then didn't really cover the bag, and then there was nobody there. And then he was nearly out of a jam in the second with 2 runners aboard before allowing an RBI double to deep center field. And then the end of his outing came, and it was a bit more positive. He did strike out Fernando Tatis Jr. on 3 pitches. All of them were called strikes. And so he was talked to by Ron Washington in this game. And then after the game, he was interviewed, and they asked him, like, what happened? What took place? And what he had to say, John, was pretty interesting. Why don't you share that?
Yeah, he said it wasn't the best outing, obviously. It was definitely a command issue. First game jitters, just kind of wipe it out of your head, move on to the next. I'm not too worried about it. Now, Mike, he's 24 years old.
I'm not too worried about it.
has a lot of potential. Just hasn't performed up to that potential. Right. Last year, he finished the season with a much better ERA than he began the season with. Even through halfway through the year, he actually finished out really well.
Right.
What he needs is just more consistency across a full season.
Yeah.
And Detmers had this to say about the end of last year. He said, "I feel like I'm the same person, the same guy. It's one start, one at the very beginning of spring training. I just kind of had a lot of adrenaline, was ready to get after it and get out there. I'll come back next week just fine." Mike, are you worried about Reid Detmers after this first start?
I know that he said he was nervous, a lot of adrenaline. It's the first start of the spring. I get all of that. This just looked like a carbon copy of Reid Detmers at the beginning of last year. Mm-hmm. And that's concerning because Reid, we can talk about all of his potential all day long, but the fact that this guy had game jitters in a spring training game, that's hard for me to, like, I don't want to go after that, but that does tell me, like, there's some work that needs to be done mentally to help him get past some of that stuff and remember what it is that he has been taught by Enright and by Wash, and remember some of the things that he's been working on. And so that's a bit nerve-wracking for me because we're going to need to rely upon him. I know it's a season of no expectations for us, but I'd love to see him really take a step forward and be the Reid that we know he can be, and be the Reid that he was just 2 years ago. But to see him come out and kind of fall apart and walk a lot of batters, I was watching the game just going, man, this feels very reminiscent to the Reid Detmers that we were really frustrated with as fans early 2023.
It certainly wasn't what we were expecting after we heard from Barry Enright early on in the offseason about, hey, I can already tell you what's
Yeah.
going on with Reid Detmers. I
Yeah.
can already tell you what's happening there. But Mike, I tweeted this out from Locked On Angels, and this came after Griffin Canning start, but we're just now getting one start from each of the starting
Yes.
pitchers so
Yep.
far.
Yep.
And what I think is encouraging is that it's on them at this point. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of where it is with Reid Detmers, because to go out there and have the adrenaline pumping and you're missing with your fastball, that I can understand. That you're amped up, you're ramped up, and you're not able to locate your fastball the way that you would want to. That was clearly his issue
Yeah.
on Friday. But the truth is, at this point, it's up to the players. You know,
Yeah.
we always say like, well, the manager can't perform or the coaching staff can't perform or Artie doesn't go out there and play the game, right? We always say
Yeah.
and hear that kind of stuff. At this point, that's true, because I feel like this coaching staff and the people around them, I have a lot more confidence in them.
Setting them up well.
Yeah, they're setting them up for success. And now it's up to the players to go out there and execute. And I think that's what was missing on Friday. Mike, it was not a clean game whatsoever. I said between Detmers' bad start and some of the miscues on the infield, this team's going to have a talking to after the game on Friday. Right. Angels pitchers allowed 7 walks. Angels defense committed 3 errors. Now, Michael Stefanik talked about the approach on defense. He said, we're really emphasizing pushing through the ball as opposed to waiting back. Attacking the ball is helping at all the infielders across the board. I've noticed a huge improvement in my own game. And what's funny about that is there was an error from Miguel Sano on third, and it was the exact opposite of what Stefanik was talking about. We're emphasizing pushing through the ball as opposed to waiting back. Well, Sano definitely waited back, and that caused the error over at third base. So all of that to say, it was essentially a B game in terms of the lineup. And also you want your starter like Reid Detmers to do well out there, and he just didn't quite deliver there. So what do you think, Mike? Still working out the issues here? They still got time. I know it's the first week of spring training. You'd like to see some progress. So far, I feel like Friday was kind of the only stinker where it made you go, oh, this doesn't look good at all.
Right. Yeah. Friday was can we just turn the page, right? But old Mike's social line, just turn the page. But I think, they're still working out issues. It's their habits are their habits, and they have to learn new habits. And Wash wants them to go and get the ball before it bounces. He wants them to pick it before it bounces. He wants them to be in a position where they can be closer to the bag for that throw, which, by the way, Rendon looks so much better at third base than he has in the last few years, right?
He's saving our airless streak. And the reason why we did that hot take of Rendon will not commit an error in spring training was simply because I believe, even with his stupid sidearm throw that we all hate, if he gets his feet under him, and that's a lesson you learned from coaching, you plant your feet and you aim your foot at the base, and you're going to be just fine with your throw. And so far, he's doing it really well, Mike.
Speaking of coaching, there was a moment in this game that I want to highlight. Ben Joyce was on the mound and was maybe falling into his typical Ben Joyce rhythm where he's kind of out of control and walking a lot of guys, although the defense did not help him. And so Wash comes out and he tells the defense to not come to the mound meeting. Like he just wants it to be the
I saw him wave it off. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. And then he told Joyce, and he was interviewed afterwards, he told Joyce, hey, you got to pick up the defense. And I love that he didn't come out and just lecture him and, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. He said, hey, you got to pick up the defense. And Joyce followed up with striking out the next batter. And Wash's approach when he goes out there, especially in spring, he said, when he goes out there, I'm looking to coach. When Enright goes out there, it's more mechanics or pitch selection. And John, competent coaching. It's a beautiful thing on the Angels, right?
Beautiful thing, Mike. Now, I did allude to this earlier. Am I still worried about Logan O'Hoppe? Well, apparently he listened to Friday's show, because then he went out there and got a home run in the 6th inning. Mike Willie Calhoun got a home run in the 2nd. I don't imagine he makes the team in any way, shape, or form. I think he's perfect AAA depth. He's a competent outfielder. He's not going to do great with the bat, but if he can smack a home run every now and then as a 4th string, 5th string outfielder for the Halos this year, that's perfectly competent, perfectly average, right? And then Miguel Sano did the same thing. He smacked a home run,
crushed it
right after Logan O'Hoppe. So they went back to back in this one. They ended up winning the game,
Yep.
Mike, against the Padres. And I know it's just spring training and the results don't matter. The points don't matter, like whose line. But even after overcoming a kind of a stinky start from Reid Detmers, it was good to see the Angels kind of push back and get through the bad defensive plays and just some of the issues that were plaguing them in this game on Friday.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. They're the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see your seats before you arrive, so you know exactly what to expect. They have all-in pricing to show your total right up front, so there's no hidden fees or secret fees. And when you buy tickets, it's literally 2 taps and you're set. They're obsessed with finding ways to save you money on tickets. They have deals right up until the start of the event, sometimes even an hour after it starts. They have exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on all sorts of events like basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. And then they have zone deals where you pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save about an average of 18%. And then with a Game Time guarantee, it means that you will get the best price every single time. So if you find tickets in the same section in row for less, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. So you can take all the guesswork out of buying your tickets for Angel games this year. Download the Game Time app right now, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Mike Halos got into a couple of games against the Diamondbacks and the White Sox. Let's start with Saturday as the Angels won 4-1.
Yeah, the Angels ace, Griffin Canning, was back on the mound.
Hey!
He's looking good so far. He went 3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, and 3 Ks. Johnny, another great start from Canning, really control his stuff, and
that was the difference.
Yes, looked like somebody that is ready for the regular season, and I'm excited to see him continue to develop. It's that second start and that third start that we really want to pay attention to. We'll probably see Canning go maybe 4 to 5 innings in his next start and continue to stretch him out. But we also saw, John, some great defensive plays in the outfield, one from an infielder running to the outfield, right?
Yeah, Zach Neto ran all the way out there, and I had to laugh because our buddies over at Halos in the Infield said, what a great play from Simba. I mean, Zach Neto.
Yes.
I thought that was perfect because, yeah, he ran pretty much into left field, but he had the beat on it, Mike, and he had the good read on it. And somebody pointed this out early on in spring training in our YouTube comments, and they were like, Ward's got to be better at calling stuff and calling for things so that there's no collisions. And I think we finally saw that in this moment where Neto was running out there. He had a beat on it. Ward took the little the spin move, the roll on the ground to kind of avoid a collision. But he certainly had a better look at the situation and was able to see that Neto had it. So I think there was better communication being displayed there. So he ran out to make that play in left field. And then a few pitches later, Ward covers some ground in left field, gets the final out.
And it was classic Taylor Ward, right? It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't dynamic, but it could have dropped in, and he was there in time, took a nice route to the ball, and he made the catch and did what Taylor Ward does best.
I think he had 2 of those.
He doesn't play crazy defense, but he does play adequate defense and doesn't allow things to get out of hand.
Yeah, I think he had 2 of those plays in that game where he had to run to left center really fast and cover a lot of ground. So good to see some hustle out of Taylor Ward out there. Mike, Aaron Hicks had a great weekend, and it all started with a home run in this game. And like you mentioned before, in the B game against the Diamondbacks, Logan O'Hoppe caught Jose Soriano. He went 2 for 5 with a home run. So am I still concerned about Logan O'Hoppe? No, not really. In fact, Washington spoke about him after the game and said, I felt it was just a matter of time before the results begin to match the effort. I just expect him to get his reps and get through spring training healthy. The more at-bats he gets, that will take care of itself. We're going to get him what he needs by the time opening day comes. I don't want him putting pressure on himself with the at-bats right now. So, Mike, honestly, if there's one thing that you need to be concerned with Logan O'Hoppe, it's the defense. And as long as that is the emphasis this offseason or this spring training, then that's going to be a really good thing for him because, again, his defense was not great in the 50 some odd games that he got into last year. So that's an area of improvement for Logan O'Hoppe. And I think he's certainly capable
Yeah,
doing that.
he had a couple of good throws down to second base this weekend. Didn't get anybody out, but had a couple of good throws, and even was affirmed by Bobby V on the TV side. He said, that's a great throw, but that's stolen bases on the pitcher. And so, for O'Hoppe to really make it close, even though the runner got a great jump, was a good sign that he's been really working on his pop time and also throwing down to second.
You mentioned Bobby V, and I saw a great tweet on Sunday that said, why does Bobby Valentine call the game like he's calling the Rose Parade? I was like, that never a truer statement has been
That
spoken.
Is so great. This is Logan O'Hoppe, and he's from Southern California.
Mike, the Angels
that's so funny.
The Angels and White Sox met on Sunday, and Kaden Dana got the start in this one. He went 2 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, no earned runs. Mike, he walked the first batter of the game, then retired the next 3. And then in the second inning, he gave up a single, then a double play, and then a fly out. Gosh, he looks like a pro.
Yeah.
He has composure. He's focused. He's calm. He's collected. He does not look like a 20-year-old kid out there. He looks like he's done this for a real long time. I can't wait. And I know it might not happen this year, but I can't wait to see him in the bigs and part of this rotation in the
Do you think 2025 he's a part of this rotation?
I don't know about 2025. I think they give him a look at the end of this season, depending on where the Angels are, especially when the rosters expand. I know they don't expand like they used to, but there's definitely some room for guys like that. But I would certainly bring him up for a start if you could at the end of the season. As far as 2025 goes, I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see on how he does in AAA. But man, you can't teach composure.
Yeah.
And you can't teach calm and collected. And this kid has it. Like, he looks so great on the mound. And it's nice to have a big, dominant, hard-throwing fastball out of this young guy who I think is going to be great for years to come.
I even think if they put him in AA, that might be an indication that they want to see him in the majors next year, because AA is more pro ball, right? And so
more competitive,
wouldn't be surprised to see him there. John Carlos Esteves pitched an inning, gave up a home run, struck out a guy. His fastball was up. Remember, he was 91 to 93 the first time.
Yeah.
He's 94, 95 in yesterday's game. If you're not worried about O'Hoppe, I'm not worried about Esteves, because he's working on stuff all the time in spring training. And I think that he's still continuing to work on stuff. And so gives up a home run in this game. I think he's just trying to figure out where to place his fastball and really make sure that he's placing it well, and the hard.
The speed's been down. He's got to ramp up the fastball velocity, and he kind of served up a bit of a cookie, and so you really can't, I don't know, shake it off, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Drew Pomeranz was also in the game. Again, an inning, 1 hit, 1 K. He's making a case, John, to be in the bullpen. And if they're going to stretch out Soriano and Andrew Wantz, then I think Drew Pomeranz might actually have an opportunity to maybe make an impact in this bullpen this season.
Absolutely. Mike, I promise I'm going to tweet this out every time he comes to the mound this season. It's going down. I'm yelling Simber, because Adam Simber looks like a stud this year.
He does.
He pitched an inning, no hits, 3 ground outs. Third was a bunt attempt that he handled really well and got it over to Shawnuel. I can definitely see him making the team as well. He looks really healthy again. I don't think that there's any concerns with the injury issues that plagued him last year. Zach Plesac got into this one, 2 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Mike, so now that we're talked about Wantz and Soriano kind of being stretched out, and then Perry adds all of this bullpen depth.
Yeah.
What could this bullpen look like based on what we've seen so far? Well, I think we have a pretty good, perhaps, projection here. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I like this. Esteves closing. Stevenson probably in the 7th, 8th inning, although he's got some shoulder stuff that he's got to work through.
He's a little behind in terms of getting ready for opening day.
May not see him on opening day, but that's okay. Maybe that first week would be great. Luis Garcia, Adam Simber, Hunter Strickland, Drew Pomeranz, Matt Moore, and then long relief, Zach Plesac or maybe Jose Suarez. And then it was funny that you tweeted out that it's not just Mike Frisch that mispronounces people's names, because Terry Smith mispronounced this guy's name. And I'm not even going to try to attempt it. You can attempt it.
Gio Zuniga got a botched pronunciation. Terry Smith was like, Gia Zenyaga.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, Mike's not alone in the player pronunciation.
I appreciate the empathy, Terry Smith. Thank you very much.
There you go. Mike, we saw some interesting hitting on Sunday, but we heard multiple times yesterday that it's spring training for the umpires
Yeah,
too. And
right,
that certainly
right.
looked like the case because there were a lot of called strikes that were out of the zone, much to Mike Trout's benefit, quote unquote. Yeah, he went 3 for 3 or 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts.
Yeah.
You worried about Trout at all? What do you think?
No, we're going to talk about him tomorrow, but I think with Mike Trout, a couple of those calls were bad. And it's one of those things like what Wash said about Logan O'Hoppe. He's got to get his at-bats in, 80 at-bats for him, and then he'll be ready to go. I'm not too worried about it, and he's not too worried about that either.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It certainly wasn't to Anthony Rendon's benefit at the plate either. But again, no throwing errors from Rendon, keeping our hot take alive.
We'll take it.
Aaron Hicks, Mike, is making the case to maybe be starting for this team. I know it's only been a week, but he went 2 for 3 with a double, a run scored, and a stolen base. I could see him getting more playing time than maybe we perhaps anticipated. I know that you and I kind of projected him to be the offset for Mickey Moniak against righties, but he's certainly playing his way into a more prominent role. Shawnuel 1 for 3 with an RBI. And then speaking of Mickey Moniak, he comes in and hits a 2-run home run after Logan O'Hoppe reached on an error. And so that ended up winning the game for the Halos. They were tied 1-1 until Mickey Moniak hit that home run. So the Angels end that game against the White Sox 3-1. So a nice weekend all around for the Halos. Some good, some bad, some really bad. And we hope that you feel like we've got that covered for you and you feel interested in seeing how the Angels progress after this first week of spring training games.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Angels play the Rangers today at 12:05 Pacific time, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. If you're watching or listening to today's show, come on over to YouTube, find today's episode, get in the comment section. It's the best way to be part of the conversation. Mike, what do we have on deck for Tuesday's show?
Well, Mike Trout said he is not in decline. He just got some bad habits last year that he's working on getting rid of, and we'll share with you what he's trying to do this spring so he's ready for the regular season. That's Tuesday on Locked On Angels.
Is the bad habit watching strike 3 down the middle? Because that's what it looked like this weekend.
We'll have to tune in to find out, Jonathan.
Sorry, I don't take digs at Mike Trout very often, but man, I was just so like, come on, dude, swing the bat.
What are you doing? Yeah.
All right, friends.
Right.
We hope you'll come back and join us for that. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.
We're the only super Halo Bros. There's no such thing as super Dodger Bros or super anybody else, just so you know.
That's for the untwittered out there.